As soon as the suspect was taken into custody, officers recognized that he was suffering from some type of medical distress.
Right now at 4, under investigation, a man dies in Buffalo police custody. The latest details about the victim and what led to his death. Plus, up in the air, the fate of President Donald Trump's travel ban lies in the hands of a California court.
Mitch McConnell said that I was out of line and shut me up.
And silence for speaking. Senator Elizabeth Warren is shut down during a confirmation hearing. How she and her fellow Democrats are responding. Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us. We begin with a developing story in your top 4 at 4. We now know the name of the man who died in police custody last night. News 4 is learning Wardell Davis died after an altercation with Buffalo police on the city's west side. It happened around midnight last night in the Grant Ferry neighborhood in the first block of Hoyt Street. Buffalo police say officers tried to arrest him but would not tell us why. Police say they chased him and a fight broke out. They say they noticed he was having a medical episode once he was in handcuffs.
Officers immediately unhandcuffed the suspect and began first aid, including CPR. Ambulance and fire response was notified to the scene, and the suspect was transported to Buffalo General Hospital, where he was pronounced dead.
We're told the officers involved have both been on the job for at least 10 years. Both are on administrative leave as the investigation continues. We will continue to follow this developing story throughout the night. We'll have more details coming up in the next half hour. We're also following a developing story out of the state Supreme Court. A justice has ruled the case of Richard Metcalf Jr. will be reinvestigated by the Cattaraugus County District Attorney's Office. Metcalf died from injuries he got at the Erie County Holding Center in 2012. News 4 got surveillance video from inside showing the moments leading up to his death. The sheriff's office says Metcalf caused his own injuries because of his erratic behavior. Still, doctors who treated him say he was killed by excessive force.
He's clearly unconscious at that time. He's strapped to the gurney. He's covered. He's got a pillowcase tied tightly around his neck.
The attorney for the family says they are relieved the case is moving forward. News 4's Dave Graber is following the story, and we'll have reaction coming up on News 4 at 5. 7 people are out of their homes after a fire at a 2-family home this morning. It happened around 5:30 this morning on Traymore Street. The deputy fire commissioner says the fire started in the basement. One person was taken to ECMC for smoke inhalation. 2 firefighters were minorly hurt and a dog died. The deputy commissioner says it was a tricky fire to fight.
Fires in the basement are typically dangerous to firefighters, basement and attic. So this fire originated in the basement, so we typically bring extra manpower for rehab and rotation.
The fire caused about $225,000 of damage. The house next door was also damaged. The cause is under investigation. In Florida, several people were hurt in a high-wire accident at Circus Sarasota. 5 circus performers fell as they practiced for an 8-person pyramid. The show called Synergy features Nick Wallenda. He was there to practice but did not fall. Officials say none of the performers were seriously hurt. A circus representative says it was likely caused by one of the performers losing balance. In New Orleans, people are working to clean up the damage after tornadoes and severe weather ripped through the area yesterday. Aerial footage from a drone shows the destruction left behind. More than 10,000 people are without power in several areas. Officials say about 70 homes were severely damaged. No deaths have been reported, but at least 6 people were seriously hurt. Meanwhile, a storm developing in the Midwest is set to bring the heaviest snowfall to the season to the Northeast. JetBlue has canceled flights from Buffalo ahead of the storm. Meteorologist Andrew Beglini is tracking it all for us. Andrew?
Yeah, Christy, this is going to be a big one across parts of the Northeast. We'll be seeing very minimal impacts, especially our southern tier, just a few inches for tonight, but up over a foot in some spots closer to New England, around Boston, with very strong winds. The beginning signs of that storm, you can see that the snow down in the Midwest, just around Indianapolis, that's going to continue to develop and shift off south of our viewing area tonight. You can see how it continues to develop later on. And as I mentioned, we'll get brushed with a little bit of that snow here in western New York. It's mainly for the southern tier with a couple, maybe 3 to 4 inches at most, especially getting down into northern Pennsylvania. Then waking up tomorrow morning, it's really going to be hitting hard. Philly up toward New York City and then eventually into the Boston area. The thing is with this storm, it's not going to stick around very long. So it's going to be a bad morning, afternoon, and evening, especially for New England before it departs that heavy heavy snow and those strong wind gusts, but we're already seeing a lot of travel impacts, and that will continue. So in terms of how much snow we can expect here in western New York, pretty minimal. Overnight, several inches in the southern tier. I'm thinking around 1 to 3 inches, fairly widespread. More as you get down into Pennsylvania, McKean and Potter counties. Some spots even upwards of 3 to 5. Then we'll have a few more snow showers getting into Friday. That could bring a coating around the metro area, but not much more than that expected. Temperatures outside noticeably chillier, 29 in Buffalo, some upper 20s down in the southern tier. Thankfully, not too much of a breeze to deal with, so wind chill's not really much of a factor. Overall, tonight will be fairly quiet, with the exception of that snow in the southern tier. Now, coming up in my full 4 and forecast, we'll talk about the upcoming weekend. We are tracking some more changes to your weather on the way.
Across the nation, 3 federal judges in California will decide the fate of President Donald Trump's controversial travel ban. We're waiting to hear the decision from the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. They'll decide if the halt on the travel ban will be temporarily enforced. The order blocked people from entering the U.S. from 7 predominantly Muslim countries for 90 days. The president tacked those who challenged the executive order today.
You can be a lawyer, or you don't have to be a lawyer. If you were a good student in high school or a bad student in high school, you can understand this. It was done for the security of our nation, the security of our citizens, so that people come in who aren't going to do us harm.
Whatever the 9th Circuit rules, this is far from the end of the fight. With dozens of lawsuits all over the country, the issue will likely fall to the Supreme Court.
Mr. President, there is a shocking double standard here when it comes to speech. And unfortunately, it is not constrained by the 4 walls of this chamber.
U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer and other Democrats are speaking out today after Senator Elizabeth Warren was silenced for doing just that during a confirmation hearing for Senator Jeff Sessions. Warren was reading from a 1986 letter written by Martin Luther King's widow, Coretta Scott King, which was critical of Sessions. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell stopped her, citing a rule against another senator. Sullen Safferty reports on the controversial movement.
Senators impugn the motives and conduct of our colleague from Alabama.
A stunning moment on the Senate floor.
I am surprised that the words of Coretta Scott King are not suitable for debate in the United States Senate.
Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren formally silenced by her Republican colleagues.
The senator will take her seat.
The incredibly rare dressing down stemming from this statement.
Mr. Sessions has used the awesome power of his office to chill the free exercise of the vote by black citizens.
Warren quoting a scathing 1986 letter from Martin Luther King Jr.'s widow, opposing Senator Jeff Sessions' failed nomination to a federal judgeship, to explain why she is against Sessions' current bid to be Attorney General.
The senator is reminded that it is a violation of Rule 19 of the standing rules of the Senate to impute to another senator or senators any conduct or motive unworthy or becoming a senator.
Republicans arguing Warren violated Senate rules by demeaning a sitting senator.
You stated that a sitting senator is a disgrace to the Department of Justice.
She was warned. She was given an explanation. Nevertheless, she persisted.
At issue, whether quoting Coretta Scott King should be exempted from the rules.
I appeal the ruling of the chair.
But the Senate voted strictly down party lines to reprimand Warren, prohibiting her from speaking on the floor for the remainder of the session's debate.
If the truth hurts, then that's all the more reason to hear it.
Refusing to be silenced, Warren taking to social media, continuing to read Scott King's letter on Facebook Live and calling into CNN.
They can shut me up, but they can't change the truth.
Next on News 4, new technology to motivate your workouts, how fitness scanners are taking exercise to the next level. And if you're looking for something to do in Western New York, we have an answer. We'll show you a first of its kind live action entertainment heading to Buffalo.